But like the old saying goes, you have to know the rules before you break the rules. So that's what we're going to go over tonight, is just a few basic things. And I've got a little, actually Lee had the same thing. I'll pass these around if you want. This is some really good information that you can get off the website. It's this Thomas Howie drumming, and it's on tuning, and it's got some really good simple information. Some of these guys on the internet, when I research this, they kind of go, they get a little scientific and get a little dull, but this is some neat stuff. So it's here if you want to see it, and I'm just going to kind of use this as a guide as we go. I didn't prepare anything, I'm just going to kind of talk off the top of my head. But we'll basically start with the toms. Of course, there are all types of your sound that you're going to get from your drum. There's so many variables that are involved in this. You know, the size of your shell, what the shell's made of, the hoops, you know, are they triple flanged, are they die cast, the lugs, the heads. All these variables come into play with the sound that you're trying to attain. What makes it simple is to know all these different variables, and you know what say for instance, if you're a rock drummer and you want this really loud kit, you know, there's certain heads and certain drums that lend themselves to that. If you're a jazz drummer, you're not going to be using the same kit as a lot of these rock players are. If you play country, there's certain kits and tunings that lend themselves to that. This is a Gretsch kit that I use in the Stone Show, and of course anybody that knows anything about Charlie Watts, he uses a controlled sound head on top and bottom. Before I started this, I'd never actually put this combination together. I actually kind of like it now. It's very simple to tune. Let's just start from tuning. We're just going to play like we're tuning a drum, and of course everything starts bearing edge. Very important. There's all types of bearing edges. Greg's had a lot of vintage kits. This actually is a kit that I had made. I had a round over bearing edge on this. It's not going to be real bright like, say, like what are the DWs, Michael? They use like don't they use a 45?
They use a 45.
45.
Yeah.
You know, there's a 45 that comes up, looks like a roof on a house. There's a 45 where they do an inside cut. A lot of these guys now are using 30 degree bearing edges. So just keep in mind, you have to know what bearing edge you have to expect what sound you're going to get out of the kit. Bert, what does your Yamaha kit have? I love that kit. What does that have on it?
45 degrees.
Man, that's a sweet kit. Sounds good. But, you know, it's good to know what this is. I believe a 6-ply maple shell. And even some of the manufacturers, of course, DW, they made it a big deal. They'll actually, you know, John Good, he'll tap the drum for you, and you actually get a note that he stamps on the inside of the shell. Usually the floor tom is like a B flat.
Yeah, and that coated head, so I can't.
And we'll get into that note, or what they call tonal tuning, but it has a lot to do with the sound, and it's very applicable to getting a nice sounding drum kit. But you know what shell you got. If you got a vintage kit with a round over edge, and you want a real bright sounding drum kit like a DW, you know, you may get it, but you're going to have to change some things. So it's with an instrument like a drum shell, you kind of have to know what she's going to do for you before you start. You can change some things, but this kit, when I had it made, I wanted kind of a vintage sound. I'd had a bunch of DW kits before this, and I was used to a more top-end, brighter sound. So when I had these made, this is why I tried the round over bearing edge. I'll use, on this kit, I'll usually use either a ambassador clear on the resonant side. And while we're talking about this, the side that you hit, if you didn't know it, is usually referred to as a batter side. The bottom side is the resonant side. And there's still a few guys that use the single-headed drums. Phil Collins comes to mind, a couple others. You don't see a lot of it anymore. But I think, in my opinion, a lot of the resonant side is ignored in tuning. And if you think about it, when you hit a drum and you hit that stick, you're actually muting that side of that head for a split second. So the people out in front of you, that's what they're hearing. So it's very important that you have this resonant side head tuned to where I like to say a musical note. My 10-inch tom, I tune it to a D. And I'll get my piano player, whatever, to hit a D, and I'll get it to come up to that. As far as tuning, there's a lot of different techniques. I found the easiest thing for me, two things you need to have when you're tuning. You need to have a key. I'm sure Mike sells something like a torque key.
We usually have them in. We're sold out right now. We usually have
But this is the neatest thing that was ever invented, in my opinion. It makes tuning very fast, very easy. It's like a torque key, and it's got a breakover. So when you have your setting there, and then you can go and it'll break over, and you know exactly where to stop. So if you're really anal about it, you can even write down your settings, and every time you tune whatever particular drum you're tuning, you can get the exact same sound every time. Another little technique that makes it easy: get you an old drum head, and you can label it and put it on here, and it'll tell you the whole idea of seating the head. And I'm gonna kind of skim over this stuff. I'm sure there'll be a lot that I leave out, but this, you can number your lugs. I like to set this on there when I'm tuning. And what you want to do is you want to seat that head equally. You don't want it leaning one way or the other. You want a nice equal pressure and have it seated on the head. So what this does is it'll let you know that you go with lug 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And of course, in this sheet here, it tells you when you go to the bigger toms and it has more lugs, it'll give you the number system on there to do that. It's just another way to make it very easy and always get a smooth, nice tuning. I always start and tune my batter head first, and I set it down on the ground, get my head seated, and then I'll go with my lugs. I'll go finger tight all the way around, or according to the number system on here. And then once you get them like that, then you can start. You want to come out about 1 inch from the lug. This has been sitting in a road case for the past month, so it's probably out of tune. Yeah, hear the different pitches. Pretty close, but it needs to be. But anyway, you can go around your key,